about this. Last hour, we broke news from the Supreme Court. Deadlocked on a union dues issue. This has to do with union fees, dues, being paid by non-union members. At least that's the way I see it, but I think the judge is going to straighten me out. Judge, where have I gone wrong?
Well, no, you haven't gone wrong. It's a California case involving school teachers who, under California law, were forced to join
the union,
to join a public sector labor union and be bound by the union's negotiations in their behalf. Teachers said, we don't want to join, we don't want to pay dues, we don't want to be bound by what this union has negotiated in our behalf. We want to be hired or fired on merit and on our own. So you have two issues. One is freedom of speech. You are forcing us to accept the speech of others as if it was ours, and freedom of association. The state of California is forcing people to associate with people they don't want to associate with.
No change in this. I mean, they will be forced to join the union. They're forced to pay up.
Correct. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is right below the Supreme Court, it's the federal appeals court for the 15 westernmost states of the United States, has upheld what the law has been. This was an effort by the plaintiffs to change the law. The law has been the state can force you to join the union, and the state can force you to pay the union dues, but you're entitled to a rebate of those portion of your dues that go to overt political activity by the unions with which you disagree. These challengers were trying to say, how can you force us to join an organization we don't want to join? And how can you force somebody else that we don't trust or we don't like to speak for us? Could you imagine if all of us were forced to join a labor union and that labor union negotiated for us against our will with our employers here?
No, I can't imagine that.
Well, that's what labor unions were king when you were in the British socialist system. Yes, of course. Until Margaret came along.
Oh, bless that name. Next one for you, Judge. The FBI reportedly preparing to interview Hillary Clinton's aides over her email scandal. But my question is, when do they interview Hillary Clinton?
This is a very, very dangerous phase for Mrs. Clinton. The fact that they are preparing to interview her aides means they are finished acquiring evidence, and they are finished corroborating the evidence. So all the neutral things they look at, all the records, all the technical information, all the expert information, all the examination of what's secret and what's not secret is done. They are now bringing in her aides to see what they have to say. It's very dangerous for the aides to go in. Most criminal defense lawyers will not let a person go in and talk to the FBI and talk to federal prosecutors. Why? Because the prosecutors and the FBI will not tell the lawyers what they have.
Will these aides have a lawyer with them when they're interviewed by the FBI?
Yes, they have the right to refuse to be interviewed. They have a right to be there with a lawyer.
And how would it look if the principal aides to Hillary Clinton walk into the investigation with their lawyers and say, we're not saying anything?
Well, it wouldn't happen that way. They simply wouldn't go. They're not forced to go. They would simply say, we're not going to go. That's what Brian Pagliano did. He's her IT guy. They gave him immunity. Once they give you immunity, then you lose the right to refuse to cooperate with them.
Okay.
So he has explained to them the who, what, when, where, how, and why of the migration of two email streams.
Yep.
Public and secret, from the government servers to Mrs. Clinton.
So now they ask the aides, what about this?
Yes.
What about that? Who told you to do that?
Yes. Were you there when Mrs. Clinton said this? Did you hear her say that? And then the final phase will be, well, Mrs. Clinton, we have all of this evidence here and we're about to present it to a grand jury. Would you like to come in and give us your version, or would you like us to go to the grand jury tomorrow? This is a day of reckoning that she devoutly wishes does not come.
When does it happen? The aides will be interviewed fairly soon.
I think the interviews with the aides will either take place or not take place if they choose not to go in.
In April,
in
May?
the next couple of weeks.
Next couple of weeks?
Yes.
And then Ms. Hillary Clinton, by the end of April, maybe?
Yes. Now, she has said she can't wait to get in and talk to the FBI. Stuart, nobody believes that. No one, when they're being investigated by the FBI, can't wait to get in there. It's the last people in the world you want to see. There's 147 FBI agents investigating her, and she says she can't wait to get in there and talk to them?
One quick second. I want to just take 20 seconds. this is fascinating. Melissa, you said earlier that there is no way that the Justice Department would actually prosecute and indict
It's sad
Hillary
but
Clinton.
true.
You said
That's
no
my
way.
opinion. Sad but true. There'll probably be a recommendation. I think they have plenty of evidence. I think you laid out the case beautifully. I wouldn't dare ever disagree with you. At the same time, I think they're too political and they're not going to hobble their own candidate. It'll be mayhem and revolt at the FBI. I agree with you. She can't wait to get in there. I can't wait to go to the dentist and have all my teeth
Melissa
pulled.
went to Harvard. She knows what she's talking about. And your last comment is?
Well, she didn't go to the London School of Economics.
Well, she's out of bounds. What does she know?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Melissa makes a very good point. If the evidence of guilt is overwhelming, and I believe it is, if it's publicly known and if it's well documented, it is, and the Justice Department, for political reasons, doesn't present it to a grand jury, resignations, leaked evidence, leaked copies of indictments, political catastrophe for the Democrats and for Mrs.
Hillary loses anyway in that scenario, even if they don't indict.
You're smiling, Stuart.
I'm just bringing it to a conclusion. That's what I'm trying to do here. Melissa, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Oh, and George, thank you too. Princeton High. Ah, there you go.